Days of Our Lives. Massive chaos unfolds in December. 5 major shocks that will shake Salem to its core. Welcome back to NBC Update channel. Today we will delve into the most explosive and jaw-dropping developments happening in Salem over the next 2 weeks, from December 1st through December 12th. Shock 1. Belle's strategic alliance and Rachel's psychiatric crisis. The first major bombshell erupts when Belle Black, portrayed brilliantly by Martha Madison, finds herself in an increasingly desperate situation. Recognizing that the current circumstances have spiraled dangerously out of control, Belle makes the strategic decision to enlist the powerful support of Paulina Price, expertly played by Jackie Harry. This alliance is particularly significant because it signals that Belle is acknowledging the gravity of the problems surrounding her family unit and is seeking outside intervention from someone with considerable influence and resources in Salem. The catalyst for this collaboration centers on the deeply troubled behavior of Rachel Black, the temperamental and increasingly unstable character portrayed by Alice Halsey. Rachel's emotional and psychological state has deteriorated to alarming levels, and her family members have come to the difficult conclusion that interventional measures are absolutely necessary. Additionally, there's a complicated layer involving Kristen DiMera's surprising false confession, which has created additional legal and emotional turmoil throughout the Black household. The burning question on everyone's minds becomes, is Belle and Paulina's plan designed to address the fallout from Kristen's confession? Or are they attempting to establish a more comprehensive strategy to manage Rachel's dangerous behavioral patterns? The answer becomes painfully clear when Rachel is forced to admit herself into inpatient treatment at the prestigious but intimidating Bayview facility. This development marks a turning point in the narrative, as Brady Black must make the heart-wrenching decision to temporarily estrange himself from his daughter, leaving her in professional care despite the profound emotional toll this takes on him. Brady recognizes that Rachel requires specialized psychiatric intervention that he simply cannot provide within a traditional family environment. However, this separation comes with considerable risks and unforeseen complications that will continue to plague the narrative throughout the season. Shock 2. The manipulative Sophia Choi and Rachel's deteriorating mental health. While Rachel struggles to acclimate to her new surroundings at Bayview, a sinister new threat emerges in the form of Sophia Choi, portrayed with calculated menace by Rachel Boyd. On the surface, Sophia appears to be a troubled adolescent struggling with severe communication difficulties and emotional limitations. However, the shocking revelation that Sophia is deliberately feigning these struggles fundamentally changes our understanding of her character and her intentions. Sophia is far more calculating and dangerous than anyone initially suspected, and she set her sights on Rachel as her next psychological victim. Sophia's manipulation of Rachel becomes increasingly apparent as the episodes progress. Rather than offering genuine support and friendship, Sophia systematically uses psychological tactics to worsen Rachel's already fragile mental state. In a particularly disturbing development, Sophia sneaks into Rachel's private hospital room under the cover of darkness, establishing an inappropriate and deeply troubling relationship with her vulnerable roommate. This predatory behavior represents a serious breach of therapeutic protocol and raises alarming questions about hospital security and Rachel's safety within the facility itself. The tragedy of this situation is that Rachel, already psychologically fragile and desperate for genuine connection, falls victim to Sophia's manipulation. What should be a stabilizing environment for Rachel's recovery instead becomes another source of trauma and emotional damage. The hospital staff's failure to detect and prevent this relationship creates additional complications for Rachel's therapeutic progress, potentially setting the stage for even more severe psychological deterioration. Shock 3. The DiMera dynasty in crisis, disappearances, and corporate conspiracy. Simultaneously, the powerful DiMera family faces an extraordinary crisis that threatens to unravel their entire empire. Theo Carver finds himself strategically teaming up with E.J. DiMera, the calculating patriarch portrayed by Dan Furigal, for what appears to be a critical corporate strategy meeting. However, the true nature of their collaboration becomes increasingly murky as the episodes unfold. Rather than simply discussing routine business matters, Theo and EJ are actively investigating disturbing theories about the mysterious disappearances of multiple DiMera family members who have seemingly vanished without explanation. The situation becomes exponentially more complicated when Chad DiMera, compellingly portrayed by Billy Flynn, is suddenly and violently thrown into the family crypt alongside Kristen DiMera, masterfully played by Stacey Hyde Duke, and Tony DiMera, powerfully portrayed by Belle. This shocking sequence of events creates an immediate and severe crisis because Chad now faces the devastating reality that he will miss his critically important upcoming custody hearing. This custody hearing represents Chad's best hope for maintaining legal and physical custody of his children. And missing this crucial legal proceeding could result in catastrophic consequences for his parental rights. The crypt becomes a temporary prison for these DiMera family members, and as they struggle to comprehend their sudden confinement, the mystery of their captivity deepens. Are they victims of an external threat, or is someone within the DiMera organization orchestrating this imprisonment? The corporate machinations and family loyalty dynamics become increasingly complicated as Theo and EJ attempt to piece together what happened to their missing family members while simultaneously managing the DiMera business empire during this unprecedented crisis. Shock 4. Kat's dangerous seduction plot and Jennifer's protective fury. One of the most despicable and calculated schemes emerges through Kat's elaborate manipulation of multiple characters, particularly her targeting of the innocent and influential Jennifer Horton Devereaux, portrayed with strength and determination by Melissa Reeves. Kat attempts to leverage her relationships and information in an effort to negotiate with Jennifer, clearly hoping to secure Jennifer's silence or cooperation regarding some undisclosed matter. Kat's apparent goal is to prevent Jennifer from taking custody of Chad's children, thereby maintaining Kat's own influence and control over the family situation. However, Kat severely underestimated Jennifer's protective maternal instincts and her unwavering moral compass. When Jennifer learns the full extent of Kat's manipulations and the predatory nature of her schemes, she explodes into justified fury. Jennifer doesn't mince words, directly confronting Kat and calling her exactly what she is, a predator who preys on vulnerable individuals and families. The confrontation escalates dramatically as Jennifer physically attacks Kat, refusing to be intimidated or manipulated by her threats and schemes. This violent confrontation represents a crucial turning point in the narrative, as it demonstrates that Jennifer will not be bullied into silence, regardless of the potential consequences. Jennifer's determination to remove the children from Kat's sphere of influence remains unwavering, even as Kat continues to insist that they should reach some sort of mutually beneficial agreement. Jennifer understands that Kat's presence in the children's lives represents an ongoing threat to their psychological and physical safety. Despite Kat's best efforts to negotiate or manipulate Jennifer into compliance, Jennifer refuses to back down, setting the stage for an escalating conflict that will dominate the narrative for weeks to come. Shock 5. Stephanie's Chicago stalker nightmare and the mysterious bio-threat. The final major shock involves Stephanie Johnson, portrayed by Abigail Klein, who travels to Chicago to promote her newly published book. What should be an exciting and professionally rewarding experience instead transforms into a terrifying nightmare when Stephanie becomes the target of a relentless stalker who has apparently followed her across state lines to her hotel. The stalker is presumed to be Owen Kent, frighteningly portrayed by Wes Ramsey, who has a deeply disturbing history of kidnapping Stephanie in the past and harbors obsessive feelings toward her. While Owen hasn't yet escalated to actual kidnapping during this particular storyline, his presence creates multiple scares and threatening situations that leave Stephanie in a state of constant fear and hypervigilance. The hotel becomes a minefield of potential danger as Stephanie never knows when Owen might appear or what his intentions might be. Meanwhile, back in Salem, complications emerge when Alex Kyriakis, portrayed by Robert Scott Wilson, receives a mysterious letter containing an unidentified powdery substance. The arrival of this suspicious package creates immediate concerns about a potential biological threat, escalating the danger level throughout the entire narrative. The situation becomes increasingly complicated when it's revealed that Alex received this suspicious letter from an admirer of Stephanie's. And rather than immediately reporting the matter to authorities, Alex initially passed the letter to Steve Johnson, portrayed by Stephen Nichols, asking him to investigate the sender. However, Stephanie had previously dismissed the letter as insignificant and nothing to worry about. When Alex finally reveals that he had been investigating the letter behind Stephanie's back, Stephanie becomes furious at his deception, viewing his actions as a violation of her autonomy and trust. The combination of the Chicago stalker situation, the mysterious bio-threat letter, and the interpersonal conflict between Stephanie and Alex creates a perfect storm of chaos and danger. The corporate tensions and emerging love story. Underlying these major dramatic explosions, additional tensions continue to simmer among Salem's business elite. Katie Roberts Brady, brilliantly portrayed by Lauren Koslow, and the ever-elegant Maggie Kyriakis, portrayed by Suzanne Rogers, find themselves engaged in serious discussions about the future direction of Titan Industries. However, their business-focused conversations are disrupted when Steve Johnson instigates conflict between Alex Kyriakis and Stephanie Johnson, creating additional friction within the family business dynamics. The professional and personal relationships become dangerously intertwined as business decisions become clouded by family tensions and personal rivalries. In a counterbalance to all this chaos and darkness, a more tender and hopeful development emerges as Brady finds himself increasingly drawn to Sarah. With Rachel's temporary absence due to her inpatient treatment, Brady discovers an unexpected emotional connection with Sarah that gradually blossoms into genuine romantic feelings. The two share genuine moments of intimacy and understanding that provide a brief respite from all the surrounding chaos. However, this emerging romance creates significant complications for Xander, who harbors his own romantic feelings towards Sarah and watches with growing jealousy and resentment as Brady and Sarah's connection deepens. Xander's jealousy threatens to become a destructive force within the narrative, potentially driving wedges between characters and creating additional conflict that will reverberate throughout the remaining episodes. The love triangle dynamic between Brady, Sarah, and Xander adds an element of romantic tension to the proceedings, even as more sinister and dangerous plots continue to unfold throughout Salem. The week of December 8th to 12th, escalating danger and mounting consequences. As we advance into the second week of our coverage period, specifically December 8th through December 12th, the intensity of the drama dramatically escalates. The dangerous tracking storylines involving Stephanie's stalker become increasingly menacing and unpredictable. The bio-threat initiated by the mysterious powder discovered in Alex's letter moves from being a minor concern to a genuine public health emergency, creating widespread panic and confusion throughout Salem as authorities attempt to identify the substance and determine whether it poses a genuine danger to the community. Simultaneously, Theo becomes increasingly trapped within the DiMera conspiracy, discovering that he may actually be imprisoned along with the other missing DiMera family members. What began as a mysterious disappearance transforms into an active hostage situation, with Theo and the other DiMeras becoming prisoners who must work together to unravel the mystery of their captivity and identify whoever has orchestrated this elaborate scheme. Their collaborative effort to research the mysteries surrounding their situation becomes their only hope for escape. The seduction plot intensifies dramatically when Kat decides that direct manipulation of the situation is no longer sufficient. Kat deliberately decides to seduce E.J. DiMera, using her feminine wiles and calculated charm to lower his emotional and psychological defenses. The seduction culminates in an intimate moment where Kat and E.J. share a passionate kiss, but this kiss conceals a far more sinister purpose. While E.J. is distracted and under the influence of his emotional response to the kiss, Kat secretly drugs him, rendering him temporarily incapacitated and unable to prevent her next moves. This drugging provides Kat with the perfect opportunity to sneak through the DiMera mansion without supervision or observation, allowing her to snoop through private areas and access confidential information that she shouldn't be able to obtain. Kat's illegal actions and flagrant violations of privacy don't go completely unnoticed, however. Rafa Hernandez, portrayed with determination by Galen Gearing, becomes increasingly suspicious of Kat's behavior and her unauthorized access to restricted areas of the mansion. Rafe's knowledge of Kat's illegal activities creates additional tension, as he must decide whether to report her criminal behavior or maintain his silence for complicated personal reasons. The Convergence and the road ahead. As all these storylines converge and intersect, Salem transforms into a powder keg of tension, danger, and unpredictability. The next 2 weeks promise to deliver the kind of intense drama, explosive confrontations, and shocking plot twists that have made Days of Our Lives a beloved staple of daytime television for decades. The carefully constructed schemes are beginning to unravel, the hidden truths are threatening to surface, and the characters find themselves increasingly backed into corners where they must make desperate and potentially irreversible decisions. The interconnected nature of these storylines means that developments in one plot thread inevitably impact and influence the outcomes of other storylines. Rachel's psychological deterioration affects Brady's emotional state, which in turn influences his developing relationship with Sarah and triggers Xander's jealous reactions. Kat's seduction and drugging of E.J. creates opportunities for her investigation, but also attracts the attention of Rafa, setting up potential confrontations. Stephanie's stalker situation in Chicago remains connected to the mysterious bio-threat letter, creating cascading consequences that extend far beyond Salem's city limits. Days of Our Lives spoilers indicate that the next 2 weeks will be absolutely filled with intense explosions, disturbing revelations, shocking betrayals, and dangerous consequences that will fundamentally alter the lives of multiple characters. The dramatic stakes have never been higher, the emotional intensity has never been more palpable, and the potential for character-altering developments has never been more pronounced. Stay absolutely tuned to this dynamic and endlessly compelling drama as Salem continues to deliver the kind of high-stakes storytelling that keeps viewers emotionally invested and desperately anticipating each new episode. The next 14 days will prove to be transformative and unforgettable for everyone involved.